Raise your hand if you're a woman who has ever felt personally victimized by the beauty industry and the insane beauty standards. Keep your hand raised if you were aware or even considered the possibility that young boys and men were being held to what some may argue are even more insane, unhealthy, and just deeply disturbing standards of beauty than what I ever was held to as a young girl growing up. I honestly had no idea of the disturbing existence of a trend that is increasingly growing in popularity called Looksmaxxing. So you may be wondering, what is Looksmaxxing? I must have been living under a rock because I'd never actually heard of the term. So I'm going to explain to you what exactly Looksmaxxing is and why it seems to have just exploded in popularity. When in actual fact, there has been forums about Looksmaxxing that has existed since I think 2018, and the term and this community has been bubbling and been probably in existence for maybe close to like 5-10 years. At a brief glance and upon skimming some real kind of surface level articles that you can find on the internet about Looksmaxxing, it may just appear to be something as simple as self-care or beauty routines, things that young girls and women have been engaging in for most of their lives. But the deeper you fall into the world of Looksmaxxing, you will realize it is, some would argue, incredibly toxic, incredibly dangerous, and downright disturbing. Before we get into today's video, I also want to acknowledge that upon my research, apparently women and young girls can also engage in Looksmaxxing, but for the purpose of today's video, I want to solely be focusing on the point of view from young boys and men in the Looksmaxxing space, because I do feel like it is more of a male-dominated space. Like I mentioned, there are entire forums dedicated to this Looksmaxxing. There are guides, there are books, there are actual Looksmaxxing starter kits that you can go ahead and purchase. We already know this, most of us as women, the beauty industry is a billion-dollar industry, and it is basically profiting off of women's insecurities. And this is what I always believed. But little did I know that there is this space that is growing in popularity that is now targeting young boys in such a harmful way. Like I said, we will be getting into it. But now young boys and men have become more intrigued and more interested in maximizing their physical appearance than ever before. I want to take a few moments to actually break down a few different types of Looksmaxxing that I came across, and I just feel the need to say that I spent days researching this, and I am probably missing some elements of Looksmaxxing. There are probably some elements that I wasn't even aware of and I'm still not aware of. It's like a whole new world, and it is, I think, slightly more involved than I ever have experienced as a female, as a woman, tackling the very unrealistic beauty standards that I face and I feel the pressure to conform to as a woman. These are just a whole nother level. Like, this is a whole nother level that I've never experienced before. So I want to start by saying that there is apparently a difference between hard and soft maxing. Softmaxxing is basically just base level, just basic common sense things that most of us engage in, most of us want to do, and most of us do. It pretty much involves just proper hygiene, eating well, working out, taking care of yourself, getting adequate sleep, being interested in your style and presenting yourself in a certain way, dressing in a certain way. Self-care 101, things that don't really involve any reconstruction or anything super dangerous or harmful. Something as well called mewing falls under the Softmaxxing category, and it is essentially positioning your tongue and your mouth in a certain way, doing certain exercises that is supposed to increase the size of your jaw. Now, like I said, there are literally guides, there are paid for kits, there is an actual mewing app that I came across, and it's basically just the practice of putting your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and it's supposed to increase the size of your jaw. A lot of the Looksmaxxing community actually engage and support the claims that mewing can improve the structure of your jaw, and some also promote chewing gum or something called mastic gum, really regularly and frequently to increase the strength and just change the shape and size of your jaw. Some chew this gum quite often to help reduce facial fat. However, I don't know really if I believe that that actually does anything. From my experience as a 31-year-old woman, I've learned that you can't really spot reduce fat. So I don't know how much legitimacy mewing and chewing gum incredibly frequently will have on your jaw and the structure of your face, but I feel the need to say mewing is a really, really large and a really, really advocated for exercise in the Looksmaxxing community. Hardmaxxing is where we get into a dangerous territory, and that is going to be, for the most part, what I'm going to be focusing on in today's video. It refers to more extreme and permanent measures and methods, including undergoing cosmetic procedures and just some really downright dangerous things that are being promoted in these forums by these young boys and men. It's funny, I don't know about you, let me know in the comments down below, but like I said, I'm 31. I always thought that I knew and I had my finger on the pulse, so to speak, of what is going on with Gen Z and the younger generations. Like, I thought like I'm a pretty hip 31-year-old. And this video research today made me realize that I am indeed not. I indeed have no idea. So because I had actually no idea, and I found this researching for today's video incredibly difficult. I felt like I was learning a whole new language. I again want to take a few moments to actually just break down some of the lingo. Okay, some of the lingo so that you don't get lost like I did in the beginning. For instance, I mean, there was this sentence that I'm going to share with you and many others that when I first started researching for this video, I was like, I don't know what this means. This makes no sense to me. I'm mewing and have hunter eyes, fat jawline, forward grown maxilla, and positive canthal tilt. Some of you, if you understand anatomy and the body, you may understand like part of that sentence. But as someone who doesn't actually know too much or really has a very good understanding of body anatomy, the slang that is being used, you might have just been as lost as I was. So don't worry, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to break down some popular terms so that we're all on the same page. But just for that specific sentence, I'll repeat it again. I'm mewing and have hunter eyes, fat jawline, forward grown maxilla, and positive canthal tilt. So forward grown maxilla, from my understanding, refers to the jaw or jawbone, specifically the upper jaw. In humans, it also forms part of the nose and the eye socket. Learn something new every day. Canthal tilt is actually the angle of the eyes in relation to the face. It's determined by the line connecting the inner and outer corners of the eyes. It can vary from person to person and it can affect the overall appearance of your face and your eyes. And again, the canthal, I hope I'm saying that correctly, tilt is again very, very big in the Looksmaxxing community. It basically can make or break you, apparently. When I was young, and even now as a woman in today's world, I didn't even realize that some people are becoming really concerned about their tilt and how their eyes are positioned. I found this particular article written up by the Mewing app. Like I said, there's a whole app regarding mewing. And it's basically the concept of hunter eyes versus prey eyes. The canthal tilt determines whether or not you have hunter eyes or prey eyes. And apparently for a lot of young boys and men, hunter eyes are more preferred. It's that real piercing, almost squinting look. You know, you see it on these cringy TikTok videos of these boys dancing. A lot of these forums actually promote trying to hold a squint to your eyes, which I don't know how comfortable that would be doing for 24 hours of the day, just this constant squint, but apparently it's very attractive. Apparently I'm, as a woman, supposed to be literally losing my mind over this squint that apparently are very piercing eyes. Like I said, this is a very crucial make or break part of a boy and a man, and it's make or break. But don't worry, there are actual surgeries that you can get done and that are promoted on these Looksmaxxing sites and on these forums to actually help correct your canthal tilt if you have more prey eyes as opposed to hunter eyes. Mogger is another term that is used quite often in these forums and within the Looksmaxxing community, and the term indicates the act of dominating someone else aesthetically. So it basically refers to intimidating, dominating another individual based on how you look, if you look better than them. The mogger is the more attractive person, and the mogged is the person who feels overshadowed in comparison to such unbelievable beauty.
Yo, I cannot make this up, bro. Tell me why when I walk into this room, bro, there is one beam of light and it's on this guy, bro. Bro, what?
Incels is another term that's used quite a lot on these forums that I came across, and it is basically someone who is involuntarily celibate, someone who doesn't get any interest from the opposite sex. On the other hand, what I think you want to be, according to my research, is a Chad. Okay, a Chad is a conventionally handsome, young, upper class man.
Hey, how you doing?
Manlet is a new term which basically refers to men who are below average height, who attempt to emphasize their masculinity through bodybuilding.
What exactly is a manlet? The way I think about it is like, you know, you got pig and then piglet and then man and then manlet. So a manlet's essentially someone who's 5'8" and under.
I will be touching on this more later, but height is a very big deal.
So how tall does the guy have to be?
6'1". Like 5'10". At least 6 foot.
I would say like 6 foot.
6'5". 6'6". Yeah, like 6'7".
6'7", 6'8".
Boys and men are actually and can actually be deeply, deeply insecure about their height and go so far as to actually undergo surgical procedures to increase the length of their limbs. The different types of maxing. So I went over Softmaxxing, I went over Hardmaxxing. I'm gonna talk about different types of maxing. And like I said, I probably missed some out because it's like a whole new language to me. But just a few that jumped out on these forums that I saw again and again was something called geomaxing. And it's basically the idea of choosing a geographical location and where in the world you can live that is going to enhance your career opportunities, your dating prospects, and just your overall life. White maxing involves using creams to appear more white.
How are you so white? Because I don't leave the house, bro. No, I just don't tan. I used to tan. That's when I was in my prime, but I don't think it's worth it because you end up looking older, and I'd rather have really white skin and look young than look older with tan skin.
We have edge maxing, which involves withholding climaxing to boost testosterone and improve your appearance. I don't know if that's a real thing. Gym maxing, pretty straightforward, self-explanatory, getting the gains in, hitting the gym maxing. Angle maxing, which isn't the worst thing I've ever heard, but social media being social media, we know it exists. It's taking photos at the right angle. It's knowing your angles and knowing your body posture movements in able to take the best photos that's going to make you look the most attractive. And if you're doing that, you're angle maxing. We've got skincare maxing, again, pretty self-explanatory, using a derma roller, retinol, sunscreen, moisturizer, eye creams, collagen, exfoliants, all of those things. Shave maxing, again, pretty self-explanatory. Shaving and having the right facial hair to enhance your facial features. Style maxing, again, pretty self-explanatory. Style related, a form of soft maxing. Look at us using two of the words in one sentence. We're getting it. Money maxing. Not so much the pursuit of money, but the belief that having money will free you from inceldom, apparently. We know what an incel is, don't we? Exposure maxing, putting yourself out there. Therapy maxing. This one's actually a pretty good one. It's basically just the idea of to get the most out of therapy if you're attending it. Be honest and not actually hide things from your therapist. That way you will max your therapy session, make them the best they can be, because if you're lying to your therapist, you're literally just throwing money down the drain. This is where it gets a bit dark. We have starvmaxing, starving yourself in order to drop body fat as quickly as you can, and especially around the face, it's to achieve more of a hollowed look.
I haven't eaten almost anything in the last 2 days, and it's made a big difference on the way I look. So recently, I'm using myself as an experiment, doing something called Starvmaxxing. My face and jawline has slimmed down so much. People in my comments are actually noticing in my videos.
I found this one particular thread on a forum called Looksmaxxing.org. This one user wrote, "Should I stop Starvmaxxing? I'm on my 3rd day." Just to let you know, he is 15 years old, and he said, "These couple of days have felt horrible, and even though day 3 isn't long, I constantly feel super tired and I lack any motivation to do anything. I walked very little yesterday, but my calves keep cramping and I'm starting to feel like stopping. I still have school and it's hard for me to focus when I have zero energy left. Should I keep going or should I stop now?" Now, obviously, you and I know a 15-year-old boy is still developing, he's still growing, he needs fuel. Every human being needs food to fuel. My heart just breaks for this 15-year-old boy. There is no way, like he said, he's got no energy, he can't concentrate, he is at school, he needs to eat, he's on day 3. There are some commenters in these forums who are saying things like, yeah, just in case more muscle breaks down, stop. Someone said, "Don't starve." I'm not going to use this derogatory term. By the way, there's a lot of derogatory terms on these forums. There's a lot of misogyny, a lot of racism, a lot of homophobia, but a lot of people are telling him no. It's about a 50-50 split. There are also a lot of commenters saying things like, "Keep doing it so you can fully Chad max, trust the process, dude." Basically saying, keep going, keep starving yourself, trust the process. Do 3-day water fasts and it's not starving. Apparently if you drink water, you're not starving yourself, which I personally disagree with. Somebody here said week, go for 7, somebody said. Somebody says, nah, he's just maxing right now. Go for 2 weeks. Somebody said, just coat max and live your virgin life, bro. Somebody says, go for 1 week. If not, you're pussy, brah. So yeah, there is a lot of toxic advice by other mentally underdeveloped people on these forums, and it actually scares me. We will be getting more into this later, why it scares me, but a 15-year-old boy whose brain is still developing is taking advice from literal strangers on the internet. He is starving himself, he doesn't feel well, and he's so far removed from his own thoughts and his own intuition that he is seeking advice on a forum like looksmaxx.org on whether or not he should keep going. He's literally starving, his body is screaming at him to eat, and instead of eating, he's referring and he's seeking guidance from these communities online on what or what not to do. That's terrifying. Something else that is very controversial, and some would say, oh no, it's not actually something that happens, it's just a joke. But no, I actually believe that this type of looksmaxxing actually exists. People on the internet do engage in this type of thing, and that is bone smashing. Bone smashing is the practice of basically hitting yourself in the face, usually with a hammer, to reconstruct your facial features and your structure. Apparently supposed to create a chiseled look. Breaking down, slowly breaking bones or causing stress and damage to bones is supposed to rebuild them stronger and differently. If you look on these threads, there are literal guides on how to properly bone smash. If you are a young-minded person, or if you, like me, I don't know much about human body or the anatomy. And if you're a young individual, if you're very open to influence by others, you may look at this one particular thread on the looksmaxx.org page. Bone smashing can work, but it requires some setup. And here it says guide and scientific proof. Now I had a look at these journals, these medical papers. I don't know. Like, I don't think. My common sense is telling me that if you literally take a hammer to your face on a daily basis to try and change your facial structure, that is incredibly dangerous and probably not a good idea and most likely will not work. But these forums literally have these graphs, what look to be credible sources about why this would work. Take a massage gun, find a spot you can repeatedly hit, maybe by measuring from landmarks. Smoke crack, hit for 60 seconds and rest 8 hours. Obviously, it's a non-negotiable to not hit arteries, veins, etc. Use a stethoscope or your finger to listen for pulses. A red light can also elucidate vessels. Choose a spot that has minimal fat, nothing under the eye. If you see discoloration, stop immediately.
So I bone smashed my chin last night, and as you can see, there's quite significant damage to the soft tissue. because I used a hammer with a smaller surface area, which is why I'm going to be switching to an object with a larger area of impact to reduce the trauma on the soft tissue.
Now, I can imagine some 14, 15, 16, God, of any age really, reading these and thinking that this is a genuinely good idea to take a massage gun or a hammer to the face in order to alter your physical appearance.
Here with Dr. Oz, we're at Lake Louise. Gonna talk about some bone smashing, isn't that right?
I'm going to talk about the non-benefits of bone smashing. One, you might hurt your jaw.
Yeah.
2, you might hit a nerve. 3, you might create a bruise. What do you think of that?
I don't know, I'm still gonna keep bone smashing. Because of Wolff's Law, you know Wolff's Law?
Tell me about it.
So when you create microfractures to a bone, it grows back stronger. So,
all right.
And the osteoblasts count on the bone wall will increase.
All
so
right.
you get more bone mass, you know what I'm saying?
I do understand the theory, don't necessarily agree with the concept.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow millennials and those of the older generation to me, did you know this was a thing? Do you remember the Kylie Jenner lip challenge where these kits were being sold? I remember even buying one. Yes, I was that influenced in my early 20s to suck into this thing to get bigger lips, and I was in my early 20s. I cannot imagine how vulnerable the younger generations are to believing that these things are good ideas. Smashing your bones with a hammer or a massage gun repeatedly is the new standard, and it's the new world we're living in. Welcome, my fellow friends, to the scary side of the internet and what social media is doing to the youth of today.
We were all doomed.
Dysmorphia, pretty sure that's something to do with the chest, making your chest bigger. This one, embarrassingly, I spent longer researching Maxxing than I probably should have, simply because I was just having too much fun. I was having too much fun, and I don't even have a penis, but I just was having so much fun reading these guides and falling down this rabbit hole of maxing. I mean, here we have the complete maxing guide. It's very extensive. It goes through various different things that you can do in order to increase the size of your penis, apparently. I actually found this one guy. I'm gonna have him linked down below. His channel name is Basim. He has 109,000 subscribers, which again, can I just say, if you are new here, if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, because I'm not gonna lie, this Basim guy really gave me hope that if someone who has dedicated an entire channel to growing your penis can hit 100K, maybe I can too. He's got guides. I think he even has an app that he's developed in order to track the progress of your penis growth. I just want to watch this one particular snippet of this video with you here. The video is entitled Gain 1 Extra Inch with this routine.
If you cannot do anything else, you only have just 1 hour per day and you cannot stretch beyond 1 hour, this is the device that I can recommend you, because you can do a lot of volume with this device. You can simply do high tension for an hour and get a ton of results from it. If you have more than 1 hour, I would still recommend you to use the device still. Now, to be honest with you, I wouldn't go over 2 hours of high tension. So if you actually wanted to continue stretching and you want to make sure that your penis is healing in a stretched state, that's why I created the best all-day stretcher, which is simply a Velcro strap that sits below your knee, and you can connect the shock cord to a cup that is attached to the head of your penis, and you can still be stretching while you are walking around the house. I also did stretch with it while being outside wearing sweatpants. So the all-day stretcher does not give you the same high tension that the device gives you. However, it allows you to stretch in a much more comfortable way, in a much more discreet way, and you can wear it pretty much anywhere as long as you're wearing baggy sweatpants. So if you really want to maximize your results, you have all the time in the world, I would personally do 2 hours of high tension.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it there. I'm laughing and I know it may seem really disrespectful to some of you. I do understand, as a human being who has struggled with my own insecurities, I cannot imagine. I mean, we could do a whole video about this. The rise of, what is even the term? Basically, vagina reconstructions it's on the rise. Women are genuinely feeling so insecure and like their vaginas are not good enough. I've actually had conversations with a beauty therapist who told me that she has women confide in her. She does their waxing, that after childbirth, just age, certain women's husbands have expressed their distaste for their wives' vagina and how they would like it to look more like it did when she was younger, before children, and that some women she knows are genuinely considering this procedure, and that breaks my heart. It genuinely does.
Does it feel different down there after birth?
Yeah, actually. I feel like it goes back, but it doesn't go back to exactly how
Yeah, we talked about this the other day, and I was kind of surprised to hear you say that, because you never told me until I asked you.
I always heard, oh, it goes back to normal, but it doesn't go back to exactly the way it was before.
So, maybe I shouldn't go into too much detail.
We can say
You
whatever.
still like it after?
I still like it, of course.
You like it as much?
I would say so.
That doesn't sound very...
I think I like it pretty good.
That's depressing.
The fact that even men would have the nerve, especially a father whose wife birthed their child, would even take a second to put down his wife and make her feel awful and make her feel ugly because her vagina doesn't look the same. Anyway, this is a whole different rant. I could go on and I could do a whole video about it, but it's hard though. I'm laughing because it is a little bit funny to me, literally wearing a device. Like now every time I go out and I see a man wearing sweatpants, there's a possibility that he's got a penis stretcher on and I don't even know about it. I don't have a penis. I'm not a doctor. People in the comments are saying his stuff works. People are praising him in the comments of his videos, thanking him for his help and his advice. So again, I'm not a doctor. If you are a doctor, please let me know. Something in my brain though is telling me that stretching your body, like, ooh, is that a good idea? Again, I'm not claiming to know everything. I know very little. I'm a bit wary. There's a whole world of Dysmorphia, and like I said, I spent a really long time in this rabbit hole, and I could honestly do a whole video about it. Like, this entire video could be this. But I'm well aware that we need to press on, we need to move on. A bit of a dark one, I saw this a lot on forums, something called Rope-maxxing. I have to be really careful with my wording, but it's essentially the act of ending your life. And it was a term that I saw pop up again and again on these forums. Young boys, men would say, oh, I have this type of jawline, or I'm only 5'5", what should I do? And people would comment, oh, there's no hope for you, it's over, rope max, that kind of thing. Can we just maybe in the comments down below, if you want, I'm gonna say it here right now, please trust me, good women do not care. Like, it's not important. The size of your, how tall you are is not, like, if you're under 6 foot, I can guarantee you it is not the end of the world for you. You will find someone, you could find someone. It's not the be all and end all. And I mean, I feel this way as a woman. When I was younger, I genuinely believed that if I had a bigger ass and if I had bigger boobs, that I would find a man that loved me. I even remember in my early 20s, I remember one specific guy tell me that I would be more beautiful if my hips were simply bigger, and that I should do more squats and go to the gym and get bigger hips and get a bigger booty. And you know, that was something I was always really insecure about. Like, I never felt great about the size of my butt. I never felt like I was pretty enough in the era. I mean, we're still in it now, really. Actually, I suppose we've kind of swung a little bit the other way. You know, Kim Kardashian's on the Ozempic and she's removed fat from her body in certain places. But in the age of the Kim Kardashian thickness, that was what was deemed beautiful, and I truly believed that I was not beautiful. I honestly have never and will never understand what it's like to be a man. with insecurities. If you have a child, if you have any men in your life, sit down with them, have these conversations. I would love to hear in the comments down below your experience with your significant other or your child or even a nephew, if you sat down and had a conversation with them. I've never thought that men had these types of insecurities. I never thought to ask them. Truly, I didn't. Like I honestly was just so in my own little world of my own insecurities that I didn't even stop to consider that men would potentially be insecure about the size of their, or how tall they are, or the size of their jaw, or their eyes, or what have you. And that could potentially affect how manly and how masculine they look. And in their mind, that would make them undesirable and ugly. We hear so much noise surrounding female beauty standards, women's beauty standards, and how toxic they are, and how, yes, they still exist, but they're toxic. I just don't think we see much about the male beauty standards. Young boys and men are also struggling with this, and they're silently struggling. I mean, I friggin' had my fair share of moments literally standing in the mirror being like, oh, I feel fat, oh, I look ugly, oh, I look gross. The fact that young boys and men most likely have those thoughts as well, but I never hear them vocalize those thoughts. And that this is where it can lead to these disturbing forums where they are literally engaging in bone smashing or really toxic, scary, dangerous things. Like I said, we've got a lot more to get into, so I've got to keep going. If you wanted to share some advice on how you could potentially talk to young boys, I don't know if you've got a son, think, oh my God, I need to approach this conversation with them before the Looksmaxxing community sinks their teeth into them and I've lost them forever. Share any advice or anything that you want to in the comments down below. I'm really excited and I'm really looking forward to reading the comments and just the discussion that we're going to have about this topic. Hardmaxxing is really important to a lot of women. Of course, that would be something that men are really insecure about. I did fall down these rabbit holes of leg lengthening surgery. The cost of that can be, God, from what I read, it's up anywhere from like $75,000 to $200,000. This one particular user on this forum said, I had leg lengthening surgery and I'll never tell my wife. Essentially what the title says, a little over 3 years ago, I went through the process of bilateral femur lengthening after a life of height-related insecurity over the course of a few months. I went from 5'8.5" to a solid 6 feet tall. 5'8", like that's, again, I'm 5'4", so I have no problem. I would never actually turn down a man for being 5'8", but again, that's just me personally. It's really sad to see men pour their insecurities out on the internet, most likely because they feel like they can't actually talk to anyone about these things in real life. So these young boys turn to these forums for advice and to get things off their chest, or to undergo cosmetic surgery to lengthen their legs. And again, they still feel like they could never tell their wife about it because then they wouldn't be a real man. One particular one here says, I'm about 198 centimeters living in Spain and unironically don't feel that tall. In some areas I do, but in a lot, especially with younger gens, I'm often getting height matched or even mogged. Last weekend I went out and I swear I was closer to being the shortest in the club compared to the tallest. I feel like at 6'9" plus 2-inch lifts to reach the golden height of 6'11", I'd comfortably mog in Spain and just not travel to countries where that's average, like Northern Europe. Money is an issue, so what doctor should I go to? This one particular thread here on the forum, I'm not going to read it because we'll literally be here all day, but the title is How to Reach 6 Feet No Matter What. This user is literally claiming that he can make anyone 6 foot. There's just some interesting things relating to supplements and full exercise plan, fundamentals. I always used to have a toxic belief that men just, you know, they don't get it. They've got no idea. Young boys and men have no idea about what women go through and the crazy standards that we're being upheld to. When in actual fact, they have their own struggles, but they deal with them in silence. They deal with them silently, and instead of talking to people about it, like you may as a woman may go to your boyfriend, oh my God, like this, that, and the other, or I feel ugly, or this, that, and the other. Your boyfriend, your partner, your son may literally be feeling the exact same way, but would never reach out. They would never say anything. Instead, they could very potentially find comfort in these forums. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this especially if you're a mum of a young boy. It's not too late and you can intervene and you can potentially spark conversations with your loved ones, with your son, or with any young boys in your life so that they don't feel the need to go to these forums and seek toxic advice from these internet users. There are threads existing on these forums like this one here. Effort ordering estrogen cream. Some guy made a thread on this before, was skeptical at first, but studies have shown insane collagen boosts. This cream is only 0.01%, so it won't make E2 by more than I don't know, I'm not a doctor, nor am I a medical professional, and I'm already on steroids anyway, so I can just lower my estrogen and then replace it topically so my skin mogs harder and I never age. Trust me, within 2 years, everyone here will be doing this. Get in early. Now again, like I said, I am not a medical professional, but I am wary of anyone taking steroids or hormonal creams, estrogen cream, anything, and getting advice from certain forums and not consulting advice from medical professionals. I'm aware of the medical industry, but look, I'm getting off on a tangent. The fact that people are taking advice, people are sharing to go on estrogen cream, to take certain supplements, to take certain... It's really scary. And a lot of these boys, they're literally boys, they're young boys, they're 17, they're 18 years old, and they're engaging in these types of things. Here we have here, follow me on my second cycle. Hey guys, I'm starting my second steroid cycle soon. I will update the post weekly with new data and how I feel. This will be my first time injecting G though. He actually talks about how he lost hair. He had hair shedding, but then he reduced his load and his hair shedding wasn't as bad. These are the lengths that some boys and men are going to in order to increase their size and increase their gains quickly. I'm at all not someone who's into the bodybuilding. I'm not well versed on the fitness industry. If you are in the fitness space, if you are in the medical space, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I know in the fitness space, steroids are kind of common. I'm a bit wary about pumping a lot of things into our bodies that are just trying to detoxify and live in this very unnatural world. These young boys are injecting themselves with what claim to be fat dissolvers, whether they get them from the black market or whether they get them from places like Amazon. This one particular product, Lemon Bottle, it's a solution fat dissolving injections, weight loss injections. Young boys and men, I have seen, I've read on these forums, I've seen TikToks of people injecting these things, whether it be this or whether it be something else entirely, into their faces, into their body. That terrifies me. Maybe I'm in the minority, let me know. But I am wary of putting a lot of things into my body. So I don't know if I would inject myself with something that cost $169 from Amazon. That's terrifying for me personally. But these are the extents that people are going to, and this type of thing is becoming more and more normalized. You've probably heard of it as well. I think it's a lot more common now, but there's a certain peptide, I think it's called melatonin 2, which is a peptide that I've known about for ages. I've known of people who used it. I was always, your girl used to be obsessed with fake tanning. I don't fake tan anymore, but I was never someone who went as far as to inject a substance into my body to change the color of my skin. I just remember at that time I looked into it just because I was curious. I was reading the side effects, and the side effects were enough to like completely scare me. But again, these things are becoming more and more normal. This Barbie tan, this fake Barbie tan is becoming more commonplace. One that again terrified the crap out of me was something called belt pulling. Belt pulling. One user here on Reddit who claims he's done 4 years of mewing, thumb pulling and belt pulling. And belt pulling is essentially, you can do it with a towel apparently, you can also do it with a leather belt, and you stick the belt just behind your back molars, you bite down and you pull and pull up as hard as you can, and these users claim that it can actually restructure and change the structure of your face. Now again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a plastic surgeon, I'm not a medical professional, but I'm just wary of doing these DIY things at home. It sounds terrifying. Biting down on a belt and lifting up and pulling as hard as you can, I mean, I don't know, could that potentially contribute to TMJ or like any issues with the structure of your jaw? Just that amount of trauma to the jaw, a DIY at-home job. It sounds really dangerous. It sounds scary. It doesn't sound good for you. Dentists, dental hygienists, orthodontists, anyone studying. Please tell me, please, is this a good idea? Is it, again, I'm not university educated, nor am I a medical professional, but something in my brain is coming online and telling me that this is bad. Here I was being consumed by the fact that I never had a big enough butt, or big enough breasts, or a small enough waist, or my nose was always too big. And little did I know that men and young boys were literally battling their insecurities around height, thinking about getting limb lengthening surgery, and even something called vocal surgery. There are men and young boys who are feeling insecure about their vocal and how deep their voice is, or how it may not be deep enough, who are resorting to surgery in order to make their voice deeper. Apparently vocal cord surgery is pretty low risk apparently, but phone use should be avoided for 3 weeks after. And heavy lifting and strenuous exercise should also be avoided. And my concern is with these young boys and these men who are engaged in this Looksmaxxing community, being a Chad, being big, being strong, having gains is so important. Would they actually follow the advice of a surgeon who's telling them do not work out, do nothing strenuous for 3 weeks? They'll lose their gains. I can see a lot of these boys and a lot of these men not following proper advice after surgery like this. It scares me. There's one particular post here on the forum. If we get saddled infraorbital rim implants, can we get mid-face cheekbone implants too? Again, I didn't even know this was a thing. Look at me learning new words. It was a surgery that I've never even heard of before. Here's some photos here of what an infraorbital rim implant looks like. Here's some before and afters. And again, it would most likely help to further give the look of those hunter eyes that we talked about earlier, the eyes that are most desirable in the Looksmaxxing community for men. This Looksmaxxing community, the common thread I've noticed is that you can become so laser focused and so obsessed with one specific part of your body, whether it be your eyes, whether it be how tilted they are, or your nose, or any part of your body, your jawline, whatever. But I personally believe that it doesn't take into account facial harmony. I've seen this trend on TikTok. I'll see if I can have some videos here where you see these single parts of a face and you look at them, and to be completely honest, you're like, that's not conventionally attractive. And then you see the person in their full frame and you think, oh my God, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. They're physically attractive. They have beautiful facial harmony. And I personally think, watch, some of you are going to come for me, Zac Efron I used to think was the most beautiful, handsome man that ever existed. And then he did that thing to his jaw, which for anyone claiming, oh no, he did it because he had an accident, that was what he was telling you. He was telling you it was compulsory surgery, I personally believe, allegedly. He was using the lie of, oh yeah, I slipped and fell and I had to have this surgery. I call BS on the whole thing. He wanted that surgery. He clearly was very insecure that he didn't look manly enough. And I think he went ahead and ruined his face, personally, in my humble opinion. You become so laser focused on one part of your body, one part of your face, that you actually don't consider the fact that that part that you may hate complements and just gives you the most beautiful facial harmony. And then if you go and change that one thing, you then have to change something else, and then it's something else, and then that doesn't look right with that, and then it's just like a never-ending hamster wheel. Like I did touch on in the beginning, a lot of women engage in this as well, even though that's not the entire premise, and like I said, I'm mainly focusing on boys and men, but there are just these never-ending threads on Reddit. Here I was thinking that it was really just young people engaging in it, when in actual fact there's a variety of different aged people engaging in this type of thing. But it's basically the idea that you post a photo, you post your age, you post your gender, what should I change about myself? Or rate me, what do I change about myself? What would make me look better? And it's basically seeking the advice, seeking guidance from strangers on the internet about what you could personally do to improve your physical appearance. And you know what, I don't know about you, what kind of age you grew up in. I grew up in the age of MySpace, and I remember being a young kid. I remember being in high school. I don't know if you're around the same age as me, you might remember the whole like and I'll rate you. And at the time, I thought that was a bit weird, but I engaged in it anyway because I was young and peer pressure is a thing, and I just did what everyone else was into, and I was curious. Looking back, I recognize it's quite toxic, and it's only getting worse. Back in my day, we were literally, oh, like this post and I'll rate your personality and your looks out of 10. And that was literally seeking the opinion and approval from your peers, from people that you went to school with, people you knew. Now we've just taken it to the level of literally posting our photos to the internet, to these forums, to hundreds and thousands got millions of strangers to pick apart your physical appearance and tell you what you should change or what you shouldn't, or why you're not good enough, or how to be better. We've got 27-year-old female People are saying 5.8, 5.7, excellent eyebrows, lovely face. Could circumcise a horse with those teeth. A strong 8 out of 10. Nice brows and lashes, but you have some face fat, and I think your nose is too blunt and wide, slightly fleshy. Call me crazy, but I think this woman's beautiful. But this is where we're at now in society. I would never post my photo on the internet to strangers and be like, rate me, as a grown-up, just because I just, one, don't want to, don't care, and also probably, if I'm being honest, couldn't deal don't want to know. I don't want other people to pick me apart. I already pick me apart enough. I don't need it from others. But this is where we're at now. I could show 100 of these examples. There are so many examples like this that exist on Reddit and these forums. Deep down, a lot of us are so deeply insecure and crave the acceptance from our peers. Some more than others, I think. Social media and the internet has made it worse. I think that back in the day, there used to be this idea that you would grow more secure with yourself as you age. And I do think that's true for a lot of people. However, I do think social media is actually delaying that. This was something that I thought a lot of girls and boys mainly fell victim to. But these forums are filled with women in their 20s, women in their late 20s, women in their 30s, men in their 30s and 40s posting. The social media and the use of the internet and these filters is delaying this sense of security that I think before social media and before the age of the internet, we were able to feel. We were mainly a lot more insecure the younger you were, and then the older you were, you grew into yourself. But what I'm seeing, the common theme I'm seeing on these forums is that it seems to be a lot of individuals older and older have not fully accepted themselves yet. And I think it's hard in the age of social media to do so. And I'm sure if you couldn't already gather from today's video that falling down these forums and looking for guidance on these forums on Looksmaxxing can be so detrimental, can be so toxic, can be harmful. Probably one of the biggest examples of this is in the case of a young boy named James Sapphire. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this because, like I said, this video is dragging on and this could literally be a whole video. I genuinely thought about reaching out to James and seeing if I could do an interview with him. And maybe that could potentially be something I could do in the future. He is someone who fell into Looksmaxxing as a young boy. He got into it, I think, at around the age of 14. He grew up without a father. His dad passed away, and his mum was an exotic dancer, I think. She was also heavily into drugs, and I think she's now homeless. His home life and his youth was quite hard for him. And somebody at school, a girl, called him a pretty boy, and he didn't know what that meant, so he looked it up, and he found himself on these Looksmaxxing forums. And deeper down the rabbit hole he fell until he became completely unrecognizable. He looks like a sweet kid. And apparently he was really popular, girls loved him, he played sports, he was quite social, and he found himself and he fell victim to this Looksmaxxing community. And you can find a lot about him on the internet. There's a lot of trolling, there's a lot of just really dark, unfortunate, really offensive things that he's said, and you can find about him on the internet. He came out with a video, I think, about 5 months ago, and I watched it in its entirety. When I watched this video, I truly felt that he was a changed person, and who he was in his younger years when he was so deep in this Looksmaxxing community was a brainwashed version of himself. He fell into this community because his home life was not the best. He was struggling with mental health issues, and this is how he found himself. He was the perfect victim to seek guidance from strangers on the internet. He lost all sense of normalcy, and I think his case is a very real example that this Looksmaxxing community is something that you don't want to play with. It is at its core an unhealthy obsession with appearance. In his most recent video, Truth About Me, my heart broke. Like, I really felt for him. I don't even know this kid, but I literally wanted to reach through the screen and hug him. He wholeheartedly took accountability for his past actions. He was not playing the victim. He wholeheartedly admitted that his actions are no one else's fault but his own. He fell into this world.
I fucked up really bad and made some bad choices, and here I am. After leaving those communities and deleting all the music, I have gained morals, and I know what's right from wrong, and I realize now how f***ed up the whole situation was. I did a lot of stuff, and it's horrible. I look back and I'm like, what was I doing with my life, man? Yeah, I lost all my morals at that time. I'm aware I did a lot of stuff, and I apologize for that. I'm not completely innocent. I'm not an innocent person, and I'm here to own up to all of it and just be upfront with you guys about it. And it's been over with for a long time. I'm just really happy that like it happened to me when I was younger and not older, because I still have time to recover and get better. Everything's gonna be okay. It's all gonna be all right.
I actually think he was brainwashed and he was molded to be this horrendous person that he was on the internet, and I don't actually think he's that way inclined anymore. I think he's a changed person. He's engaging in meditation, he's engaging in therapy, and he's basically just trying to get his life back, because he made some very regretful choices and went down a very, very dark path because of this Looksmaxxing community and because of the validation and the engagement that he was getting, not only from these forums, but also from his social media presence and his platforms. I've talked about this before in other videos, but the validation, the likes, the hits, the comments can literally mold your brain. And I believe this is what happened to him at such a young age. He was molded to becoming this person. And I'm so glad to see that. From what I can gather from that video, he looks like he's coming out on the other side. To end today's video, I really just want to touch on body dysmorphia. I was looking at some studies back from like 2020 on what the percentage of body dysmorphia, and I actually call BS on a lot of what I saw. I think what I saw was like something like 1.2 or maybe like 2% of the population have it. I call BS. I think body dysmorphia is ever increasingly on the rise thanks to TikTok, thanks to Instagram, thanks to social media. And I think the statistics are way off. I think body dysmorphia is so much higher. I think it's almost become normalized. This idea, this obsession with our appearance, this obsession, this unhealthy addiction to altering our appearance, to constantly obsessing about the way we look and how we can be better. Again, if you're a psychologist, if you're a mental health care professional, please share your thoughts in the comments down below. But I believe that social media filters is making it worse. I found this one particular thread on the Looksmaxxing forum, and it says, girls on Tinder are so ugly compared to Instagram. Seriously, since I've had Instagram, I've noticed how much Tinder is finished. There's literally no point in using Tinder if you have Instagram in 2024. You can slay so much higher quality on Instagram. It's a joke, and the girls are way prettier / hotter. I don't even have a good following, only 130. And even I slayed 2 decent girls with ease from there and haven't DM'd hardly any. Legit, no normie has any reason to use Tinder, especially if good looking. Literally just focus on Instagram game and building a good Instagram. This is what's important to our youth of today, by the way. Tinder is basically where the girls that are ugly go to try and lock down chads, and where the hot girls go to boost their Insta following, pretty much. Instagram is a fake world. But if you're 14 or 15, you don't know that. You see these edited images of women and young girls and you believe that to be true. And if you, I sound like a nut. If you, at this current point in time, don't believe that social media is literally warping and training and altering our brains, I don't know what to tell you. I fight on a daily basis to slow down or at least halt the corruption of social media and what it's doing to the brains of not only myself but the younger generation. It is training us. It is training us. Not so much maybe you and I, because if you're like around my age, maybe a bit younger, maybe a bit older, hopefully we're in the clear. But I am actually deeply terrified for the younger generations. They look at Instagram and the edited, highly orchestrated photos of these women, these young girls, and think that that's normal. It's not normal. Go out, leave the house, step into the grocery store, step into local towns, local cities, a library, a mall, and you will see what normal people look like. It is not this world of Looksmaxxing, and it is not what you will find on Instagram. And that's what scares me, and that's what's sad, is because this young kid, however old he is, he sounds like he's 12, although he must be older if he's on Tinder, truly believes what he's seeing on Tinder is most likely more of an accurate representation of like what people look like. But his brain is so deeply warped that he believes that it's full of ugly people and Instagram is where it's at. It's so scary. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want, you may disagree, but the excessive increase in plastic surgery, the excessive increase in dangerous procedures, bone smashing, Kylie lip kit friggin' sucking, it's a lot. It's increasing. Our obsession with the front, where's my phone? Our obsession. I was at dinner the other night and watched, I love people watching, I watched a couple. She was taking photos of her 12-year-old, I don't know if it was her daughter or whatnot, but this little girl, I kid you not, stuck out her boobs, had a straw in her mouth, and she was like this. She's 12. She's 12. This is the battle. This is the battle that we are now facing as a society, as parents. Parents out there, please reach out. Please comment below. This battle is real. Call me a nut job, whatever. I believe it's a very real battle we're facing. I watched that young girl just the entire dinner, just checking herself out, no camera, just looking at herself at dinner with her family. This is real. This is real. It's real. Body dysmorphia, the narcissism, these are general disorders that are on the rise, that are just almost becoming normalized. And I refuse, I will dig my heels in, I will die on this hill that it is not normal. And I will not let social media try to convince me, or anyone that I know, any young kid that I know, that it is normal, because it's not. Anyway, I need to wrap today's video up because we've been here for a while. There could honestly be a part 2. I could talk about this till the day I die. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below about the beauty industry, about Looksmaxxing, about these forums, about the state and the future for the younger generations. Please share with me your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm really looking forward to hearing everything you have to say. Are we losing our youth? Are they winning? Are our brains being warped? Please share with me your thoughts in the comments down below. It was a lot today, wasn't it? I'm gonna have a few more linked here if you want to check those out. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. And like I said, guys, if you liked today's video, if you like my channel, please consider subscribing, because if a man on the internet talking about the size of his penis can get to 100K, maybe a girl's got a chance, okay? So if you love today's video, if you enjoyed my channel, please consider subscribing. Yeah, that penis man really gave me a lot of hope. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.